Welcome back, guys. Once your first time here, I'm Vision Hero Barn and bringing you guys another video. Telling you guys my review for The Walking Dead Season 11, Episode 11, Rogue Element. Now, if The Walking Dead is something you're instant, don't forget to hit subscribe button down below. Hit that bell icon there to miss more Walking Dead content from me. Moving forward. Now, let's begin. We are now at Episode 11, Rogue Element. Now, this is an episode where I feel like it was just okay. It wasn't as good as last week's episode, but it wasn't as bad as the previous episode. And part of me feels like they use this episode as a stopway gap to hold off on some of the Commonwealth story for a bit. One of the biggest reveals that came at the end of the episode, I feel like, was completely obvious from the beginning of the Commonwealth story arc that it just felt over-dragged out at this point. And I feel like everybody saw it coming out. I mean, maybe some of the TV-only fans didn't see it coming, but I think for the most part, most of the fans knew it was coming. But let's go talk about these stories. So first off, you got Carol helping Lance with this dispute. Not really much to talk about there. I do like how they're building up that relationship between the two characters. It's definitely interesting to see what goes on, what happened between those two characters. But like I said, there wasn't much to go on there. There was a dispute going on, and I guess, the leader guy, wasn't holding up his end of the bargain, so that was causing some issues between them and the Commonwealth. So that was a very interesting story there. But again, not a whole lot to go off of. However, the big story of the episode was the fact that Stephanie ends up going missing, and Eugene is trying to find her. And it kind of becomes a thing where he's trying to hunt her down and try to figure out where she is and what happened to her. He has Rosita try to check her out her place. She's not there. So then he goes to Princess. So it's a lot. They actually focus a good amount on him and Princess, which is nice. I like that dynamic there. And you got Princess who's trying to help him just to try to see what's going on. They do. He kind of tells her what he's thinking. He's thinking that there's like some kind of secret group within the community or government that's doing something, conspiring, and he believes that she was taken by them. Now, again, you got some great story ideas there. I mean, yes, it expanded the Commonwealth to an extent, but at the same time, it felt like it felt like they could have filled this thing up within probably half an episode, but they decided to drag it out because they needed the episode to exist and hold off on the Commonwealth. But yeah, so we got him and Princess trying to figure out what's going on. He had been spying on some people. There was this one guy who claimed to be a plumber that Eugene had suspected something of. They go in and kind of search his house, but they are arrested, and he is forced to sign a non-disclosure act with. It's not like a total non-disclosure act from what they say. He's saying that the reason he broke into the house is because he's looking for Stephanie and it's driven him to the point where he's kind of gone insane or whatever. So I get it's pretty interesting to see where they're going with this. I like what they did with Eugene here, but again, it felt a little bit more dragged out. Now, at the same time of this, you also got a story going on with Connie and Kelly. Now, this was a very interesting one as well, but at the same time, it felt like they needed to push a pause on the Commonwealth story. It definitely contributed to the Commonwealth story, but at the same time, I don't know. Again, similar thing. It felt like it didn't need to be dragged out because they're trying to investigate what happened to the trooper from the previous episode. They're trying to gather information, but people around them are trying to tell them not to poke their nose where it doesn't belong. Connie's kind of overstepping in a way, trying to get information where it doesn't totally belong. We also learned that the character that is real Stephanie is actually related to Mercer, which is a pretty cool reveal. Curious to see if that's going to go anywhere and how that could play in the story. That's definitely an interesting aspect there. And you got him just trying to work with them, help them, but at the same time he's not want to get too involved. You do kind of also realize that there's someone above him, pulling some strings, because he had put guards at this door watching out for this guy. However, while he was away, they were moved, and he said he was the only one that could give that order to move him. So it seems that there is definitely someone above him, calling the shots. So curious to see what goes on there. But again, the Connie and Kelly stuff felt, fillery. It definitely felt like it was unnecessary, but at the same time, it was decent. But towards the end of the episode, you got Eugene who kind of is starting to break down in a way. He's pretty much reached his breaking point. And you got Princess who brings up her childhood about, her dad leaving and everything about that. And, how she felt and how, kind of trying to relate to Eugene, which I really liked that. I really liked how they did that. And then later on that night, you got Eugene who ends up going and investigating this place. He had seen, these people he considered conspirators to this warehouse. He finds them, and that's where he is met with Lance Hornsby, and the two of them confront each other because it's revealed that Stephanie is a spy. Which, again, I feel like the majority of fans saw this one coming. It definitely felt forced and unnecessary to an extent. I think that they had a good idea of where they're going with this, but poor execution, in my opinion. And I think that if they didn't drag this story out for so long, it could have been better. It didn't have to be this whole big reveal, especially since I feel like majority of fans knew this was coming. And I feel like if they had put this together, the whole reveal of her being a spy along with the Pope and Reaper's story arc, it would have been 10 times better because it would have accomplished more things at once, and we would be further along with the Commonwealth story right now. But we're here, and you got Eugene who gets angry and confronts Lance about his deception, saying that he's going to expose Lance, even though Lance says, you signed a relief that you were kind of went insane and no one's going to believe you, which to me sounds stupid. I believe, come on, you're not telling me that, his people aren't going to believe him to an extent. I just don't believe that is true. I think that they would believe him, and that, he's just trying to get to Eugene. But yeah, you got Eugene who, who gets angry because he kind of fully realizes now that Lance was just using her to get information on their community after Eugene failed to break, after they, split him up from his friends and everything else that they had done to him. They used a spy to pull at his heartstrings, and pretty much, he's angry that they used him this way to get information about, his people, his community, which is, I think, definitely it definitely is an emotional moment for Eugene, but I feel like since we knew this was all coming, it didn't hit the same impact as I feel like it should have. And I think what they did here was interesting, but like I said before, it was a good idea, just weak execution. But then you end the episode pretty much with Eugene meeting up with the real Stephanie while he reaches his lowest point. Which I really like that cliffhanger. Again, feels like they could have done this a lot sooner. But I'm glad they finally reached it here. They're not dragging it out any longer. They could have, but I'm glad they're not. So, where we are here now, moving forward, is definitely better. I'm curious to see what goes on next with him and real Stephanie, with him and Lance. Will people believe him if he starts telling the truth? There's definitely a lot of interesting aspects here going forward. I just hope they execute them better than they did this whole Stephanie is a spy, plot. I mean, I feel like 90% of the fan base knew it was coming out. There were so many videos, doing this theory about that. It just felt so predictable. So it just really frustrated me that they actually went down this route. But, it was an okay episode. If I had to give this episode a grade, I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10. Not great, not bad, just meh. Just certain things I feel like were predictable, I feel like this was just a fillery episode. So it definitely is a lower end episode for me. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. But let me know your thoughts and opinions about this episode in the comment section down below. So yeah, guys, that's my review of The Walking Dead Season 11, Episode 11, Rogue Element. As always, if you like this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and share. Don't forget to hit subscribe button down below. Hit that bell icon there to miss more Walking Dead content from me moving forward. And go follow me on Instagram and Twitter, which are linked in that section of my YouTube channel. As always, I'm Vision Hero Entertainment. And I'll see you next time.